Howdy, howdy, and more howdy to you, beloved. Welcome to the Lady Walker Show. I am Lady Walker, and we have another Jim Dundee of a show in store for you. Back for the second time is my guest. She is a counselor of ministry. Welcome to the Lady Walker Show, Miss Valerie Jenkins.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
It's good to see you again, Val.
Good to see you again.
I guess we'll be meeting like this here quite a few times.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Praise God.
Okay, now during this episode of the Lady Walker Show,
Yes,
we are
ma'am.
going to be talking about grief counseling because you do grief counseling.
Yes, I am.
As well as some other kinds of
Yes.
counseling. But before we get into grief counseling, let's familiarize the audience with who you are.
Okay. Again, my name is Valerie Jenkins, and I am a counselor of ministry. My office is located at 2628 Sutherland Street, Suite C in Jackson, and it's right off of Lakeland.
Okay. Now, like I said, you do grief counseling and you do other form of counseling. And what are some
Yes.
other services
I
as
do
far as
gri-
ministry that you offer
Okay.
from that standpoint?
I do grief counseling. I also do spiritual counseling, spiritual growth counseling, and I also do anger management classes. And the classes are 1 hour, 1 day per week. And I am court approved to do anger management classes.
You are?
Yes, I am. Praise
So your
God.
name is somewhere out there on the rock. But how did you get your clients? If you
Well-
are court appointed to do the anger management class, how do they look you up?
Well, a lot of times that people that go to court for domestic violence, those are the ones that I mostly handle, the ones that do domestic violence.
So is that both men and women?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. You know, we have some women beat up on their boyfriend's husband or even family members.
Okay.
And they'll be charged with domestic violence as well. And they are appointed, court ordered to come to counseling. And I'm in the book. I'm on internet. I'm on Facebook. They go to my website. I'm on Google. And what they do is just type in anger management classes. And that's how they look me
So
up.
when they do come to your the classes that you have is that as with the anger management is one time a week.
Yes, ma'am. They come 1 time a week. Couples counseling is 1.5 hour, 1 day per week. And individual counseling and anger management is 1 hour, 1 day per week.
Yeah.
At affordable
now,
rate.
Okay. Now with that and then the grief counseling, how long is that particular?
Well, with
class?
any counseling sessions, there's no limit on it. It's just depending on each client. I've had some counseling sessions from 3 sessions up to 20 sessions and more.
Really?
It just depends on the individual.
Now, once again, and I'm pretty sure you made mention of it during your first
Yes.
interview here, but what inspired you to get into counseling?
Well, going through a lot in my marriage and my family, growing up in a dysfunctional family, living in the projects. My mother always taught us, you're not defined by where you live. And that encouraged me to
And
get
that was
out.
so good that your mom did tell you that, because how many
Yes.
mothers or how many parents will let their kids know coming up
Mm-hmm.
that you're not defined by where you stay?
Right.
Because all too often that's what some of us
Yes.
do. We are defined. We allow that to define
Right.
who we really are, and then
Right.
we allow that to become a part of whether we are worthy or valuable in some kind of way.
And my mother instilled that in us. Although I'm the only one that went to college, that graduated from college, but she instilled it in all 5 of us. To not let the world in your situation define who you are. You are much better than your circumstances.
That's great.
And that's what I bring to the counseling sessions. I tell people about my experiences and let them know that if God brought me through, that He will bring you through as well. Because He said in His word that He's no respecter of persons.
Right. Now you said you do spiritual counseling. Now there are some counselors who cannot do spiritual counseling because you're able to do it because
Right.
you're working you know, I know the last time you said that you work outside the church or
Right.
something from that standpoint.
Right. I am the only counseling ministry center outside of the church. And some counselors cannot do spiritual counseling because they're state licensed counseling. I am a counselor of ministry, and I will impose my religion on anyone that comes through my door. My clients know that when you come in, we're going to pray and we're going to read the scriptures.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yes.
That is so great. And you've been doing this ever since
2004.
2004.
That's when I got a call to go to ministry school. I started ministry school in 2005, and I started counseling different people in the church and in my home, and family members, friends, and their friends and their friends, and God just led me to get out on my own so that He can work in me individually outside of a church.
Wow, was it pretty challenging to do that? I mean, knowing that, okay, I am going to go in this direction. Did you have any other aspirations besides becoming a counselor?
I did. I've always wanted to be a nurse.
Oh, okay.
I knew that I had a calling on my life to save the sick, to heal the sick when I was young, when I was about 8. My grandmother told me that. But I thought it was to be a nurse. Years later, I found out that it was to do God's work in counseling.
But did you find that out after you graduated from high school and college?
Yes, I found that out years later, after going through trials and tribulations of not heeding to my call. Because you know we all run from our call because
Yeah, I
we
know. Isn't
we
that
don't
something?
what we don't see we don't know.
Right.
So I saw being a nurse, but I didn't see being in the ministry.
And when you felt the unction to go in this direction with God, you know, put it on your heart.
Yes,
This
when
is
I
the direction.
when I bagged up into a corner and He said, "Okay, you're gonna go and do this right now," and I surrendered to His will.
And so you said, okay, well, I am going to prepare, and I need to go here to school. I need
Yes.
to go here to prepare.
Oh yes, you always have to prepare for your calling. You never just could jump in your calling. You always have to prepare. You, if you have to go to school, because I tell clients that a doctor just cannot go to the operating room without going to school to learn how to operate. So you have to prepare.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, we are going to take a break and
Okay.
come back, and we are going to get into grief counseling,
Okay.
what grief counseling is,
Yes,
what it's all
look forward
about,
to it.
and all of that stuff, so that
Yes.
we can help someone here.
Yes,
All
build
right.
God's kingdom.
Amen. In the meantime, beloved, we will be right back. Welcome back, beloved. My guest is the lovely Miss Valerie Jenkins. Okay, Miss Valerie.
Yes.
Now we are going to go into grief counseling. Now,
Okay.
first of all, what inspired that part to, you know, to minister in that arena?
Because people that's grieving, grief counseling, grief is a deep sorrow. It's a loss that you feel from a relationship, someone dying, a job, a pet, you know, because we all associate grief with someone dying.
I know, but it's not just that.
It's not just
It's not just
someone
death
dying. It's
of a
any
loved one.
loss in your life.
Any loss,
Any
such
loss,
as?
such as a job, such as a relationship, such as a pet. Anything that you lose in your life, it's a grief.
And you know what, when you say a job, you know, it's so interesting because there have been people that lost a job,
Yes.
and I guess their identity was tied up
Right.
in that particular
Yes.
job, and some
Yes.
people committed suicide
Right.
because of that.
Right.
I guess they didn't know how to handle the grief that they were
Right.
experiencing,
Right.
and maybe it's overpowered them so much that they felt the only solution to overcome that particular
Right.
grief was to commit suicide.
Right. And that is common in grief, and it's called unresolved grief.
Unresolved.
And when you get into grief, it is so many areas of grief. It is complicated grief, which a client could come to the office and you talk to them, you have session after session, but it never reaches them. And it's called complicated grief. And they just never get it resolved.
Really?
Then it moves into unresolved grief. And unresolved grief is grief that you just never get through.
Really?
You never go talk to someone, you just never get through.
So, and of course, you're looking at both male and females,
Right.
and I don't know who handled it, when they're going through that process, male or female, who handled it better.
Okay.
Because,
I think
men do not show their emotions.
And see,
when
they
they're-
handle it
Yes.
worse because they don't show emotions.
They're told not to.
And they harbor
cry.
it
Yes.
in.
Women, we can cry
Right.
and shed tears, and it purifies us because we letting this
Right.
stuff out. But men sometimes
They harbor it, and it
Yes.
gets, and then unresolved grief goes to anger, and anger goes to bitterness. And when you see that men can't stand a relationship, they turn abusive. Some of that is unresolved grief, and then some of that is what the childhood in their lives, what they saw growing up.
Which is so
lives.
interesting for, when you become an adult and something that happened eons ago in your childhood went unresolved, and now it is affecting
Right, because
you
it
as a
grows with
grown-up.
you. That pain grows with you.
Wow, really?
You're right. And that's one of the things that I tell people in sessions. We talk about going back to your childhood. I ask them if it's a man, how's your relationship with your mother? If it's a woman, I ask them, how's your relationship with your father? Because anytime that the relationship is broken and that relationship is not solved, it grows, that pain grows with you from childhood to adulthood. And I've had elderly people come in that something happened in their childhood that never got resolved.
That is interesting.
Yes. In particular, one lady came in, her father died when she was young. She never had that relationship with her father. She didn't go to grief counseling because back then they didn't do grief counseling. You were always told to go take it to the church, or what
Right.
stays in this house, what goes on in this house stays in this house. And that's another myth that
Especially
needs
in
to
the
be
African
addressed.
Americans community.
Right. That is another myth that needs to be addressed because African Americans do not come to counseling.
And what do they?
85% of them.
Why is it that African Americans, we as African Americans, would not really go to counseling versus the other races of people?
Because the stigma that we grew up, what stays in this house, what goes on in this house stays in this house. And you better not, I hear a lot of clients say, my mother told me I better not tell nobody but God. Or you can take it to the church. So that, if you don't take it to the church and you don't tell God about it, then it stays within you. And you just grow with that. Again, the pain grows with you.
You know what's so interesting? Another thing that I find to be of interest is you can have like more than one or two children in that same family.
Right.
Well, one of them may be affected by whatever is going on in a negative way versus the other children may be okay.
Right. And that happens. That happens a lot in each family. But again, we see things differently. In our relationships with our parents, we have different relationships with our parents. Say, for instance, you may have a relationship with your mother that you feel that your mother's a nurturer. But your sister, on the other hand, or brother may feel that your mother is something else to them. And that's why we have different issues within the sibling.
Right. And that's another thing, sometimes when you have more than one child in that family and our parents may say, they are totally different. They should be.
Right.
They're different individuals,
Right.
okay?
Right.
They're not supposed to be the same.
Right.
They may not like the same thing. So do you expect
Well, that's how God made them,
Exactly.
made us. And I tell both of my children, I say, I love you the same, but I love you different because you both have different needs.
That's good.
So
That's good because sometimes kids will say, oh, she loves him more than she loves me.
Right. See, both of mine say that.
Yeah.
They'll say, Mama, you love him more than you love me. And then she'll say, both of them will say that. So I know that I'm doing something right because I'm meeting both of their needs.
That's good. That
and
is
see,
good.
with grief counseling, unresolved grief, if you do not get help, we as African American have so many health issues stem to unresolved grief that nobody knows about.
And that's another thing too. How many people would relate that certain illnesses is related to something that went unresolved for years?
We're not taught that. We're not taught that. Heart disease can be an issue with unresolved grief. Stroke, premature deaths, stress, anxiety, panic attacks, all of these can be associated with unresolved grief.
It's interesting because we will associate those illnesses that you call out with your eating, your diet, and stuff like that.
It's a combination of things.
A combination of
things. And that's why we need to go, if something is bothering us, we need to get help. I tell people at the first sign of trouble, seek help. That's with you, your relationship, with anything. At the first sign of trouble, seek help.
Okay. Well, we are going to come back and talk about some of the symptoms of grief.
Okay.
And I don't know, and you did mention something earlier, but I don't know if there are phases and all of that.
Yes, there are phases, stages in grief. Yes.
Okay.
And there are also a lot of symptoms in grief.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we are going to come back and touch upon that.
Okay. Good.
All right, beloved. We will be right back. Family First Counseling Group, LLC. For more information on services and all counseling sessions with Valerie Jenkins, call 601-714-2821 or visit www.calvaryccministry.org or email valerie@calvaryccministry.org. Welcome back, beloved. She is Counselor of Ministry, Miss Valerie Jenkins.
Yes.
All right, Miss Val, now we are going to talk about some symptoms of grief.
Okay. And the number one symptom of grief is shock and denial. That is the number one symptom of grief, because when someone leaves our relationship, a job, we just can't believe this happened. And then we go to the denial, and why did this happen? And then we go to guilt. You know, I know you heard the saying, people singing that if I shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's a part of guilt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I could have did this better, you know, I wouldn't have lost this job if I had did that.
You know what, I don't want to cut you off and say this, but when you said that, coulda, woulda, shoulda, I think about when it comes to pursuing a certain career, certain dreams or whatever, and you look back 20, 30 years or 5 or 10 years from now, and you say, I coulda, woulda, shoulda.
And see, that goes with losing a loved one, with any loss. You know, people are singing they woulda, shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And that's guilt. And then you go to anxiety, and it's a list of symptoms. But my suggestion would be to get help. At the first sign, get help. When you lose that, when you have a loss, then you need to seek help.
And these are some of the symptoms that a person needs to be aware of.
Yes, and the symptoms are panic attacks, when you're having headaches all the time, when you isolate yourself, when your heart just beating so fast each time you think about the person or whatever the loss is. Those are symptoms, and it can lead, you know, again, those symptoms can lead to stroke, heart attack, and premature death.
And going back to, I know again, when you're looking at grief, it's so many things that can cause a person to grieve.
Right.
But going back to the loss of a loved one as through death.
Right.
You know, you hear about a husband passes away or a wife passes away, and not too long afterwards, the wife or the other spouse passes away.
Right.
And I don't know is it because they didn't know how to handle that grief?
That's grief, unresolved grief that they just couldn't handle anymore. And we just had I know someone recently just did that.
Really?
Yes. Both of them passed away within 6 months of each other.
Within 6 months?
Yes. Grief counselors are there to just sit and listen to the person. A lot of times people just need you to listen to them. I've sat in sessions and didn't say a word. The whole session, we didn't say anything.
And I'm pretty sure that was therapeutic for that person.
Right, because they just want
yeah.
that support, to know that that person is there to support them. Then the third session, she started talking. And again, I was just listening. She told me, from the beginning to the end.
Throughout the whole time. And you just listened.
And I just listened. But she knew that I was there listening to her.
And you weren't in a hurry, because sometimes when you're talking to a friend or somebody, they may be in a hurry and they may have a zillion things to say while you're telling them your situation. So, which is good. So there is many benefits to going to counseling.
Oh yes, and today this person is going to school to be a counselor.
Really?
Yes, praise God. She said that God through me influenced her, and she wants to be a counselor.
Well, that's a blessing.
And we
to
gonna
know
give
that God really
glory.
used you in a way to minister to her and to sit and listen to her. And now look where her life has taken.
And she has did a 360 flip. She is doing wonderful.
Okay. Now you made mention of some of the symptoms of grief. Let's talk about some of the phases of grief.
Okay. Now we talked about the phases of grief, which is the shock and denial. That's a phase of grief. Then you have the guilt, part. At the end of the grief sessions, it's supposed to be renewal, and the renewal session is your renewed self, that you can start over again. Okay. That you're still working your way through the grief, but you're at the point now where you say, okay, this person or this job is gone. Now that I have to live for the next job, or I have to live because my loved one wouldn't want me to stay in the shape that I'm in now. They won't want me to grieve the rest of my life. So now you're realizing that I can start over.
And some people feel guilty in starting over, especially when it's a relationship. Right. If a loved one dies, and especially, I don't know, maybe women, I don't know if women are feel more guilt than men do. Yes. And if they move on, let's say within a few months.
Right, because men, they'll go and get another wife.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, they need to continue sessions, because that's part of the grief process. They in that guilt stage. So they need to continue sessions so they can move forward. In session, we talk about, they write letters to the person. If the loved one, they write a letter to him or her or whoever it may be, to let that person know that I love you, but now I have to start my life again.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
So we do have writing therapy.
Now, who do you have more? Who are you more counseling? Is it more women, more men, or is
Actually,
it
I have more.
50-50?
I have more men.
Do you really?
Yes. I have more men calling me for counseling sessions than women. Now, some of the women are calling, but they're due to the man calling.
Well, do you do any internet counseling, online counseling?
Yes, we do Skype counseling, and I do phone sessions as well.
That's great. So there are many ways. You don't always have to attend personally.
No.
In the flesh. Like I said, you do.
No, because when we over the phone, we do the same. We go through the same format. If it's over the phone, I'll email them everything that they need, and they'll email it back to me or fax it back to me. Because the questions that we go over in grief counseling, I ask a lot of questions. And I ask questions so that people can start talking about this situation.
That's great.
So the more questions I ask, the more that they'll start talking about it and be easy and work their way through it. Oh, okay. Say, for instance, I ask a question, what do you do every morning? Do you wake up and think about this person? And I say, put yes or no. Then I put explain. So they actually writing out.
That's good, because now you really have to think.
Right, they're writing out their feelings.
No yes and no, close in questions.
Right, they're writing out their feelings. and then we'll go back and talk about it. So when they write it out, I'll say, okay, then read your question, read your answer. So they're actually saying it. So when you say things, it goes out and comes back in, and then it goes down to your heart.
All righty. Well, I tell you what, Miss Valerie, we are going to come back and let you give out any contact information.
Okay.
And I know you do go out and speak if someone would
Yes.
love to have you to come out and
Yes,
speak or
I do.
whatever. You would
Yes,
do that.
I
And preferably
do.
we may have room for a break, maybe, and maybe not. But
Yes.
I'm still going to let you give the information within
Okay.
the show itself.
Okay.
All righty, beloved, we will be right back. Welcome back, beloved. Okay, Valerie, now I know, like I said before we went on break, you do go out and speak.
Yes, I
and of
do.
course, you want the people to know if they are interested in having any kind of counseling session with you
Yes.
on how they can contact
Yes.
you and all of that good stuff.
Yes.
So you can look into that camera right there,
Right
give
here.
out right here, and give out your contact information.
Okay.
The one in front of you. Yeah, we go with that.
Wait a minute, I
red.
can't see it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the red.
Like
Okay.
which one?
Yeah. Again, you can contact me. My name is Valerie Jenkins at 601-714-2821. The office is Family First Counseling. I do all types of counseling. I am a relationship counselor and a family counselor.
And once again, if you go out and speak, what do
Yes.
you speak about when you go out?
I speak about just empowering people. If
And
it's
that is
women,
at churches?
anywhere, just
anywhere?
anywhere, just empowering people. God called me to empower people.
Okay. Do you counsel younger people?
At the age of 13 and up.
13 and up?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have a lot of clients at that age?
Not many, but I am moving toward that because I wasn't counseling people that age.
Okay.
But now God is calling me to move toward that because more younger people are going through the grief process as well.
And you know, if you've been looking at the news lately, a lot of this killing, shooting, and
Yes,
everything.
yes. So God has
Younger
called me
people.
to step up.
Well, that's good. That's so
And
you are
I'm doing
broadening
that.
your territory.
Yes, yes. Enlarge my territory,
I heard
Lord.
that. Great, great, great. Well, listen, Miss Valerie. Valerie, it has
Yes.
been such a pleasing
Thank
pleasure
you for
to
having
sup
me.
a little tea with you.
Yes, thank you.
And we know you will be back.
Yes, I
Yes.
will.
Okay, great, great, great. So the
Anytime.
audience can get a chance to see you part some
Yes.
important
Wisdom.
information their way, wisdom their
yes,
way, and on
yes.
how you can certainly help them in this empowerment phase.
Yes, because God called us to build His kingdom one person at a time.
One person at a time.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
You are so
well,
welcome.
I appreciate it.
Love you, love you,
Thank
love
you,
you.
thank you,
love
thank you,
love
thank you. Love you
yes,
too.
Yes.
All right, beloved, there you have it. Thanks a trio for tuning in. That's a trio.
Yeah.
Thanks a trio for tuning in. And I, Lady Walker, your best friend, your bestie. We'll see you
Yes.
next time on the Lady Walker Show. Ta-ta.